The glass doors of the Manhattan office tower slid open, letting in a rush of summer heat before sealing the cool, polished silence back inside. The lobby gleamed with marble floors and soft golden lighting, designed to impress anyone who stepped through near the reception desk. 6 sharply dressed executives occupied a cluster of leather chairs, their laughter echoing faintly as they scrolled through emails and discussed quarterly numbers. Their watches were expensive, their voices confident, their attention fixed entirely on themselves. A few feet away, a man stood quietly with his young daughter. His jacket was slightly worn at the edges, his shoes clean but old, and his expression calm, despite the long wait. The little girl, no older than 6, held his hand tightly, her wide eyes taking in the towering ceilings in unfamiliar surroundings. She leaned closer to him and whispered something softly. He smiled down at her, brushing a strand of hair from her face, offering reassurance without a single word. He had checked in nearly 45 minutes ago. The receptionist had given a quick nod and asked him to wait, but since then she had been busy typing answering calls, and occasionally glancing at the executives with polite enthusiasm. Each time the man stepped forward slightly as if to ask again, her eyes shifted away, landing conveniently on her computer screen. It wasn't outright refusal, it was something quieter, more dismissive. The executives noticed him, of course, it was impossible not to. But their glances were brief, dismissive, followed by subtle smirks. One of them leaned back and muttered something under his breath, earning a quiet chuckle from the others. Another checked his watch dramatically and sighed, complaining about how long they had been waiting for important people. The implication hung in the air, unspoken but clear. The little girl shifted on her feet, her energy fading. "Dad, I'm hungry," she whispered again, her voice a little more fragile this time. The man crouched down to her level, his face softening. "Just a little longer," he said gently. "We're almost done here." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small wrapped candy, and handed it to her like it was something special. She smiled, her mood lifting instantly, and leaned against him. Time seemed to stretch. The lobby doors opened and closed as more people passed through, professionals in tailored suits, assistants carrying files, security staff nodding in recognition to those they knew. None of them paid much attention to the man and his daughter. They blended into the background, becoming part of the furniture in a place that valued status above presence. Then something changed. The man slowly stood up. His posture straightening with quiet confidence, he adjusted his jacket, took his daughter's hand and looked toward the elevators. There was no frustration in his expression, no visible annoyance, just a calm decision without saying a word to the receptionist or the executives. He began walking forward. His steps were steady, deliberate, and for reasons none of them could immediately explain, the low hum of conversation in the lobby began to fade. His eyes turned toward him. The executives exchanged brief, puzzled glances. There was something in the way he carried himself now, something that didn't match the assumptions they had made. And just like that, the atmosphere shifted, subtle but undeniable. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, and the man stepped inside his daughter, still holding his hand. The reflective steel walls briefly captured the image of a tired father and a curious child, but there was something more beneath the surface now, something composed, controlled. As the doors slid shut, the murmur of the lobby disappeared, replaced by a quiet stillness. He pressed the button for the top floor without hesitation. Behind him, the 6 executives exchanged amused looks. One of them let out a quiet laugh, shaking his head. "Wrong floor," he muttered, though there was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. Another stood up, straightening his suit jacket. "Let's go. This should be interesting." One by one, they followed. Stepping into the next elevator, their earlier confidence still intact but now mixed with intrigue. When the man stepped out onto the executive floor, everything felt different. The space was quieter, more refined, with thick carpeting that softened every footstep in glass walls that revealed a panoramic view of the city. Assistants moved with purpose, their voices low, their attention sharp. The moment he appeared, a subtle shift rippled through the hallway. A few heads turned. A receptionist near the boardroom immediately stood up, her posture straightening. "Good morning, sir," she said quickly, her tone respectful, almost urgent. The executives arrived just in time to hear it. Their steps slowed. The man gave a small nod, acknowledging her greeting, then continued walking without breaking stride. His daughter looked around in awe, her earlier fatigue replaced by quiet fascination. He stopped briefly, kneeling beside her. "Stay right here for a second," he said gently. pointing to a comfortable chair just outside the boardroom. "Well, be right inside," she nodded, trusting, swinging her feet slightly as she sat. The boardroom door stood tall and imposing, made of dark, polished wood with frosted glass panels. Without hesitation, he pushed them open and walked inside. The room fell silent inside. A long table stretched across the center, surrounded by high-backed chairs. Several senior staff members were already seated mid-conversation. But the moment they saw him, they stood up almost instantly. "Good morning, Mr. Carter," one of them said, his voice respectful. The man walked calmly to the head of the table, the chairman's seat, and placed his hand on the back of the chair before sitting down. His movements were unhurried, deliberate, as if this space had always belonged to him. Outside the glass walls, the 6 executives had reached the doorway. What they saw drained the color from their faces. The man they had ignored, the one they had quietly mocked, was now seated at the most powerful position in the company. An assistant hurried past them, whispering urgently, "The chairman has arrived." The words hit harder than anything else. Inside, Mr. Carter glanced toward the door. His expression calm but firm. There was no anger in his eyes, no need for it, just quiet authority. He adjusted a file in front of him, then looked up at the room. "Let's begin." He said his voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight, the kind that silenced doubt and demanded attention outside. The executives stood frozen, their earlier arrogance replaced by a sinking realization. Every ignored glance, every careless comment, every wasted minute, it all came rushing back at once. And now there was no undoing it.